Question. It appears that each member of the Ascended Masters is different and overcame different psychological experiences and karma to gain their ascension. It is my current understanding at my level of consciousness that we should see our spiritual team as true teammates, guides, and or older siblings in our lifetime and along our life path, instead of conversely seeing them as employees or tools for our usage. My question is, how can the more experienced spiritual student better grasp their understanding and relation to each member of their team and more fully uncover, 1, who is on their team, and 2, why that spiritual guide is in that role for them in this lifetime? Okay, so one of the important things to grasp about Ascended Masters is precisely as the questioner says, that they are not some godlike figure that's so far removed from us that we can't relate to them. The whole idea of Ascended Masters is that they have, many of them, not all of them, but many of them have ascended from Earth, or at least a very similar planet. This means they have experienced what we are experiencing. They have gone through what we have gone through. And this means a couple of things. It means, first of all, they can relate to us. They know what we're going through. They have empathy for our struggles on the path, or our struggles with life on a planet as difficult as Earth, because they've been here. But on the other hand, they have also, because they are now Ascended Masters, they have proven that it's possible to transcend everything on Earth and ascend. And that's why their motto is, what one has done, all can do. So it's a very good observation that the questioner makes, that we should see them as teammates and not as somebody who is either superior to us so we can't reach them, or somebody who's like the wish-fulfilling God who's there to do our bidding and give us whatever we want, whatever the ego wants. Because the Masters won't respond to the ego. They are not trying to validate or inflate our egos. They are trying to help us transcend the egos or the subconscious selves. So, how do you figure out who's on your team? If you think about it this way, that you are part of a team of beings, and some of them are ascended and some of them are not. And when it comes to the Ascended Masters, it's not something you, in a sense, figure out with the analytical mind. You know, the questioner says, actually, the questioner doesn't say that. How can a spiritual student better grasp their understanding in relation to each member? It was me who read it as figuring out. But it is still important to realize you don't figure this out with the analytical mind. You sense it intuitively. And so what I have seen over the years, or the many people I've observed who have come in contact with Ascended Master teachings, is that most people start out having one master they feel closer to. You intuitively feel closer to that master. And it can be very different masters. It's by no means the same. I'm in no way applying that you should feel close to a particular master. On the contrary, you need to actually, when you become aware of Ascended Master teachings, and if it's something that interests you, you need to study, and you need to spend some time. I have a website called ascendedmasterlight.com, ascendedmasterlight.com. And on it there are hundreds of dictations from various Ascended Masters. I also have my many books that are published. You can also, of course, find websites from other Ascended Master organizations. In the past, you have the Summit Lighthouse, you have the I Am Movement. And so what you can do is you can study. You can read some of these dictations or listen to them if they're available in audio. You will get, at some point, you will get some intuitive sense. I'm closer to this particular master. And it's important, I mean, the questioner says, who is on your team and what is their role in this lifetime. Well, it's important to realize that the spiritual path has stages. So you find the Ascended Master teachings at a certain point. But this doesn't mean you are now home free because you found Ascended Master teachings. You are still going through a process of growth, which means that you might, in the beginning, you might have a certain master you feel close to. But over time, there may be other masters that step forward and will now guide you to the next level. In other words, a master may be meant to only take you to a certain level of the path, and then another master takes you there, and so forth. So, it's important not to lock yourself in the outer mind that, oh, this particular master is my master. I saw this in the Summer Lighthouse. Many people decided this with the outer mind. My master is so-and-so. And I think you need to be much more flexible than that, because there can actually be, and the Ascended Master of even said this, that sometimes a student can believe they're working with a particular master, but they're actually working with another master because they need the initiations that that master can provide. And so, so when it comes to this with a spiritual team, what the masters have explained is that everything, in a sense, is a hierarchy or like a pyramid. And I know the word hierarchy has an unfortunate ring to many people, because we see these hierarchies on earth with a dictator or a king or an emperor or this or that, and there's this hierarchical structure. But of course, the spiritual hierarchy is not dualistic, and it's not suppressing us in any way. But what I have explained in my video about how the world was created is that our world of form did start with one being, the creator, who then created some self-aware extensions of itself in the first sphere. So they form the next level down on the pyramid. And then there are other levels, as I explained, there are 7 spheres. We are in the 7th sphere. So there is a pyramidal structure, a pyramidal hierarchy that starts with the creator and goes to levels of beings, of ascended beings. And we are now in an unascended sphere, which I also explain why that's important in my other video. And so we are working specifically with a group of ascended masters who are meant to help us ascend and raise our entire sphere up. So this means that you could say that for each of us, we have a pyramid above us, and it's not the same for each of us. In a sense, yes, when you get higher, we're all under the creator, of course, we're all under those, but still you can say that each of us has a personal pyramid above us that we're working with. And these are the ascended masters above us. And how do you determine which ascended masters that is? Well, again, as I said, this has to come to you intuitively. So you start studying, and then you see if there's a master you're close to. But then over time, as you become more experienced working with different masters, you can come to sense. For example, many people who are ascended master students, they understand that there are 7 spiritual energies that were used to create the material universe we live in. These are often called the 7 spiritual rays. And they each have slightly different qualities. And so this is another thing you can study. You can, again, my websites, Ascended Master Light and TranscendenceToolbox.com, they have teachings about these 7 rays. And so you can study this and the qualities of each ray and see if there's a particular ray that appeals to you. And that would then mean that the masters who are working on that ray, they are your immediate step up on the pyramid. And I also have a whole series of books called The Secret Initiations. There are 7 of them. The secret initiations are power, wisdom, love, and they go through the different 7 different rays. It's actually a course that takes you from the 48th level of consciousness to the 96th level by going through these 7 spiritual rays. So by completing that course, for example, you would no doubt get a stronger intuitive sense of which ray you are on. But as I said again, it obviously changes over time, because as the course implies, we grow. In other words, from the 48th and the next 7 levels up is the first ray, and then there's the second ray, and so forth. And so there is a certain progression in the different rays. So it's possible that you have to work through several rays before you find the one that really appeals to you. And another way to look at it is you can look at the 7 different rays and see the qualities. So there are certain qualities, like for example the first ray is will, power, and creativity, the willingness to experiment. But some of the perversions could be the abuse of power and the lack of will, the unwillingness to make decisions and take responsibility for your life. So you can look at these and you can see as are there certain qualities, or the positive qualities that are very important to me, or are there certain of the perversions that I either can see I have in my own psychology, or that I've always looked at and thought this shouldn't be there. So in other words, you can get some feel for, again, what is important to you, and that gives you some indication of which ray you might be on. Now another consideration, which doesn't really have anything to do with the question, but is the idea of a pyramid. So you're here, you have a pyramid of ascended masters above you, but you also have a pyramid of unascended beings below you. Because if you are a spiritual student, you are at a higher level of consciousness than many of the people around you, and probably many of the people you grew up with. And so the masters have explained that everything is interconnected. This is what science has even proven now with quantum physics, and what the Buddha said 2,500 years ago with the interdependent originations. So all people are connected in the structure. And that means that when one is being raised up, it pulls up on all those below them. And of course, why are we raising up? Because we are being pulled up by those above us who have ascended. And even in the ascended realm, of course, ascended masters go to higher and higher levels. So this again pulls up on the entire structure. Jesus, for example, said 2,000 years ago, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me, meaning if he ascends, he will pull up on everyone, because he had reached a certain level of consciousness and was the representative of the Christ for these next 2,000 years. So you see what I'm saying? We have not only a hierarchy above us, but also below us that we are pulling up on. And that's why the Master's motto is, what one has done, all can do. The fact that the Masters have ascended means we can all ascend. And if you are closer to that than many other people, then you can pull up on those below you. So I would say, to get back to the question, how can we uncover who is on their team and why that spiritual guide is in that role for them in this lifetime? So the first thing would be to consider, are you close to a particular master? Are you close to a particular spiritual ray? Because when you then study that ray and the qualities and the perversions of it, you get some feel for what you need to overcome in your own psychology. And of course, the masters on that ray are best suited to help you overcome that in your psychology. Also, what might be your gift to bring? When you overcome your psychology, you are ready to bring your gift, which is the second phase of your life plan. And that very well may relate to the positive qualities of that spiritual ray. Now, it is also, when you become a little more experienced, there can come a phase where now you're no longer so focused on the spiritual rays. Because for some people, I'm not saying for all Ascended Master students, but for some students, they're not primarily working on one of the 7 rays. They are working at different level. For example, the Buddha, the Buddhic consciousness. The Buddhic consciousness, well, let's first start. We have the ordinary human level of consciousness, where I've talked about we have the 144 levels, from the very self-centered to the less and less self-centered. So you reach the 144th level of consciousness on Earth, then you can ascend. And when you ascend, that's the level of Christhood. You become an ascended master at that point. So you have Christ attainment when you ascend. But it doesn't mean you have Buddhic attainment, because Buddhic attainment is a higher level. So ascended masters, after they have ascended, they often spend some time before they attain the Buddhic level of consciousness. And so you can have students in embodiment who, over past lifetimes, have gotten to a point where they're ready to start grasping these more universal initiations, like the Buddhic initiations. And that's why you can have some students where it's more important for them to consider like Gautama Buddha or Padmasambhava or other masters like that. There can be some students who have a tie to masters at a higher level, for example, an archangel. I have met students over the years who felt that they were very tied to the angelic realm. They often interpreted it that they came from the angelic realm, that they were embodied angels. I'm not sure that I interpret it that way necessarily. It could be that you have a tie to the archangels. Some have more of a tie to the Elohim. Others can have ties to other ascended masters. Like, for example, there is an ascended master called Surya who is residing in the god star Sirius. And some people might have a tie to that. They might actually have come from there before they embodied on Earth. So the next level of here is that most spiritual people are, as I explained in my Avatar series, we are avatars. We came to Earth from a natural planet. And it may well be that there is a certain ascended master who's the leader on that planet, and we can have a tie to that master. Now, you have to be a little careful here, because there are many of these natural planets that are not known on Earth. You know, whether they're known as planets or known as star systems. They are not known on Earth. So there isn't necessarily a known ascended master from your home planet. But at least that is mentioned by name. But that doesn't mean you couldn't have a tie to a certain ascended being. That just hasn't been named on Earth. So what I'm saying is, as you go higher and higher in your individual working with the ascended masters, it can change. You can have an intuitive sense that you shift from one master to another, and therefore it's important not to use the outer mind to lock yourself on a track, is all I'm saying. Because what I've seen over the years is that, let's put it this way. When we first find ascended master teachings, we are at a certain level of consciousness, which means we have a certain amount of ego left. Let's just be honest about it. There is a tendency for us all, at least many people I've seen, myself included when I was younger, to think that now we found ascended master teachings, this is the most advanced spiritual teaching on the planet. Surely we must be among the most advanced spiritual students. And maybe we are, but that's not necessarily setting the bar very high on a planet like Earth. So it's wise to have some humility and realize that it's very possible, when we first find ascended master teachings, that the ego can decide, this ray is very important. For example, in the Summit Lighthouse, the ascended master that sponsored the Summit Lighthouse was El Moya, who is now Master Moore. And he was seen in the Summit Lighthouse as this very blue-ray, strict disciplinarian, and there were many people that this appealed to. And they would go around blue-raying other people by telling them what they did wrong, or correcting them, or giving them initiations, or this or that. I've even heard students say to other students, I have a message to you from El Moria. And all of this is just ego. I mean, honestly, it is just ego. So it's very possible that in the beginning the ego can decide it likes a particular ray, maybe because this is powerful, for example, but it can be any of the rays. And it may very well be that that is not the ray you're on, but you won't uncover that if you decide with your outer mind, oh, I'm on the first ray, and you hold on to that the rest of your life. See, what I'm trying to say is that when we make these decisions with the outer mind, we're shutting down our intuition on that point. Your intuition may be whispering in your ear, you're actually on the third ray of love. But your outer mind says, no, I'm on a ray of power. I want to have power. I want to be a powerful person. And that's very unfortunate when you do that. So that's why I'm saying it's a very delicate process of, in the beginning, as I said, you need to find a master you feel close to. Fine. Then you study that master, work with that master. But over time, you need to become much more flexible. And you need to look at yourself, and you need to be honest in evaluating, does my ego have a certain affiliation for a particular ray because it likes those particular qualities, and it's actually using them to validate itself and make itself feel important? And then when you come to the point where you're willing to look at this and study this, then your intuition will work more accurately. And then you can find out which master you're close to. And in many cases, this will be a surprise. This will be a surprise to you. I can take my own example. When did I hear about the Summer Lighthouse? Early 1980s, maybe 83, 82. But I really joined it in 1984 and started studying the teachings. And in the beginning, I felt very close to Saint Germain and Mother Mary. And I thought for many years I was working primarily with them, a few other masters, but Jesus I didn't feel close to. I always had a certain problem with Jesus because of the image portrayed by Christianity. Which I intuitively sensed was false, but I didn't really grasp why it was false. Now, the Summer Lighthouse had a lot of good teachings about it. Elizabeth Clare Prophet gave some lectures about Jesus and Christianity and how they distorted his teachings, and that helped me. But still, I still felt I wasn't really close to Jesus. And then, as I described before, in 2002, I had this experience of surrendering my human ambitions, my outer ambitions, and feeling like if I died at that moment, I wouldn't have anything left that I wanted to do personally on earth. And that's when I then felt that Jesus approached me and said, if there isn't something you personally want to do, are you willing to do something for me? And I said yes, but I was surprised that it was Jesus because I hadn't felt close to him. And that's again, as I'm saying, in my outer mind, because of the images from Christianity, I sort of put Jesus on the shelf, and focused more on other masters that were easier to relate to because I didn't have the baggage. And so when I started working with Jesus, he took me through a period of several months where I had to overcome that, whatever baggage I had left with him, so I could let go of that. So I'm just trying to use that as an example of how there can be a certain master that really is your primary master, but you may not see it at first. And I think part of the reason why I didn't see it was that in order to work with Jesus, I had to work through all the baggage created by Christianity surrounding Jesus as person. And so that's why I had taken that on, even over many lifetimes, taken on all of that. So there could be, for example, there could be a student who in this lifetime has grown up in a different culture. It may be the Buddha, it may be Kuan Yin, it may be Krishna, and you have some cultural baggage with these masters based on the culture you grew up in, because every culture has created a certain mental image of ascended masters. So it may actually be something you took on because you're meant to work through it before you can really lock into the master. But this may take some time, and it may be that you need to work with other masters for some time before you can really recognize who is your main master and what are you here to do for that master. So I would say that looking at myself, I had, going way back, I had a tie to Jesus. I was close to him. He was always at a higher level than me, of course, but I was close to him. I was part of his hierarchy. And it was very painful for me to experience over various lifetimes how Jesus' teachings were perverted by the official Christian religion. Very difficult for me to deal with. And that's why it took me a long time to work through it to the point where I could actually recognize that he's one of the main masters I'm working with. And so it could be the same for you, that you have taken on something that actually prevents you from recognizing the master until you have worked through that. So what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to say that be careful about deciding with the outer mind. Be very flexible, use your intuition, and realize that it will change over time. Because when you first find Ascended Master teachings, you have a certain worldview, you have a certain unresolved psychology, and as you resolve that psychology, your intuition becomes much clearer. But it is important to be open, to be neutral, because as I've said before in one of my breakthrough videos, the key to good intuition is to be neutral. And if you're not neutral, then your outer mind is just shutting out your intuition.